Okay. Okay, so we're just going to listen to part of the track, and I'll walk you guys through my thought process while listening to the tracks. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video in between all my talking, just so I have enough time. And in those first couple of seconds, you could hear the beginning starting with the short pizzicato strings, the dun 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 dun. And then every once in a while, that would be interjected by these longer string sounds, da da dun. So because of the different characteristics of the two instruments, the way I would arrange this is I would put each of the parts onto a different instrument, one with shorter sounds and one with longer sounds, both having melodic qualities. And then we can tell here that there's like a melody added in. This is played on glockenspiel, which is already a percussion instrument, so I can go ahead and transfer the melody directly over. And then if you listen closely in the background, do you hear the electronic clicking sounds in the background? So overall, like this piece kind of gives you the mood of like a more dainty, light, and playful feeling. And then what I think the electronic clicking sounds in the background do is that it adds like brightness and chirpiness to the music. So how would I recreate that on a percussion instrument? So just thinking about all of the percussion instruments that I can think of, the first thing that comes to mind are these things. And these instruments are called castanets, which are essentially plastic plates that you click together. So if you listen to the track, you heard the da-ka-da-ka-da-ka-da. So in the same way, I can recreate that same sound on this instrument. Now it's certainly different because it's an electric click track on the music, while here I'm clicking pieces of plastic together. But in the same way, they create that brightness and chirpiness that adds to the music. And during other sections of the arrangement, I'm going to go ahead and go back to And during other sections of the arrangement, I experimented with unique metallic percussion sounds. And when looking for a more mysterious sound effect, I thought I would use the idea I've seen in a past percussion ensemble, which is dipping resonant metals underwater. All right. And I'm just going to kind of bring some water in here. So what would happen if you were to dip a resonant metal underwater? And this instrument right here is called a crotale. And essentially, a crotale is a small tuned cymbal. And what would happen if I were to strike this metal and dip it underwater? And for those of you that took AP Physics 1, you should know this equation about the velocity of sound. So the velocity of sound is equal to the frequency of the metal times the resulting wavelength of the sound produced. And then the velocity of sound is actually different in air and in water. So through air, sound travels at 343 meters per second, which is really fast. But through water, sound travels even faster at 1,482 meters per second. So looking at two different equations, one in air and one underwater, we can assume that the frequency of the metal, the crotale, stays the same. So whether or not the crotale is in the air or underwater, it still has the same pitch. But since underwater, the velocity of sound is higher. So in order for the equation to stay true with frequency being constant, then the wavelength of the sound produced must increase. So therefore, the sound must decrease. Oh, that's really cool. I'm going to do it again. So yeah, just kind of bringing a little bit of fun into my original work. And overall, I learned a lot about how to apply the ideas that I hear onto what should be written on paper. But despite what's written on paper, perfection, which is the passion of so many people, still does not interest me. What is important in art is to vibrate oneself and to make others vibrate. And I had a lot of fun dipping the crotale underwater, and the vibrations of my music resonated through the smiles of everyone's here. And music is what resonates. Music is what bridges the gap caused by social conflict. And music is why I've had the wonderful opportunity to be an ISM student. Thank you all.